Okay, hello to everyone, and thank you that you have invited me here to show you my bird pictures. Photographing wildlife in varying light conditions requires the photographer to adapt to the situation, the moment, what the nature offers. So I think that's exactly why bird photography is so challenging and so fascinating, because you never know what's going to happen, what kind of light you're going to get, and what kind of wildlife you are going to get. I'm Mia Surakka from Finland, and in my presentation, I will share why I have fallen in love in bird photography in particular, and also what kind of moments and atmosphere I'm trying to achieve in my photos. We will dive deeper into that topic really soon, but I will tell you first a little bit about myself and how I have, and how I have become a bird photographer. So I grew up in the countryside, surrounded by fields. So nature was always around. I wasn't especially a birder, so I don't have like a birder background, but I grew up in a countryside. And with my family, we went on picnic trips. And, you know, as a child, I explored all the exciting things like little bugs and plants and things like that. And my father was a keen photographer as well, so I think that's why I also got into photography in quite an early age. And first, with my small little camera, I captured things like cats and horses, and later my friends, and anything that interested me. And after finishing high school, I set off into the world. I had a real traveling bug itching, so I visited some really amazing places in my travels. I had a backpack on my shoulders, and I worked along the way to cover my expenses. And I was at my 20s then. So it took me 4 years going around the world. And when I came back to Finland, I started working in a textile company, which was founded by my mother. So we manufactured dance clothes. And when my mother retired, I took over the company at quite a young age. So unexpectedly, 20 years flew by as I learned to run the company. And also I learned to photograph better because I wanted to take all my company's marketing pictures and the product pictures also by myself. So the more I learned about photography, the more my love for it grew. So alongside my work, I also did some photography studies, and graduated as a professional photographer. But when I found bird photography about 10 years ago, I was blown away right away. I think I fell in love with how diverse genre the bird photography is. Like, first of all, you have to know your camera really well to capture all the really fast moments. And also, you need to know the bird behavior so that you can be at the right place and the right time. And you know what's going to happen with the species that you are photographing. And also, the planning process, which is required if you are trying to capture something really difficult, like, we'll say like golden eagles. You can't just go and take a photo of golden eagle. You need to build hides. You have to maybe do a feeding place. And especially those like long-term projects really interest me. And I'm willing to do a lot of work to get the photo that I'm planning to. So in the end, it got to the point where I left my day job, and I wanted to fully commit to the bird photography. That was 3 years ago. So I wanted to try my wings as a full-time nature photographer. So bird photography became a true passion for me. And even now it's my full-time job. I can still say that it's my favorite hobby as well. So if I ever have some time off, I just want to grab my camera and go photographing birds. So nowadays my life looks like this. I'm always hiding somewhere in different places. So I think you have to be a little bit mad doing bird photography, because it will take all your time and your money, like one of us said today. And the situations that you will end up to are quite challenging, because it means early wake-ups, it means bad weather, it means a lot of disappointments when you don't get what you want to get. So, because it's so difficult, I think that's what makes it so much more rewarding when you actually succeed in the end with what you are going to, what you are trying to get. So I'm a Canon-dager professional. I listed my gear because I think it interests you. And I've been photographing with Canon for about 30 years now. And I very much appreciate having the best gear there is, because the action shots require really fast focusing and serial shooting. So I'm sure there is a lot of bird photographers here who take really good pictures. So you maybe have heard the comment that you must have a good camera because you have such a good pictures. And I've heard it, and it feels a bit annoying at first, because we all know that it's not the camera that takes the photos, but it's the photographer behind that takes the photos. But then again, I admit that there is a point, because from the beginning, I've always wanted to have the best camera I can afford, because I don't want to use it as an excuse. Like, if I don't get a good shot, then I don't want to say, like, yeah, if I had a better camera, I would have nailed it. So I want to have the best camera there is. And now it's the R1 at the moment. And yeah, I want to have the best camera so I can have really good shots. But let's move on to the bird pictures. I'm going to talk about light, just like the previous lecture. The light was really important. And I use light different ways. And it depends what the weather is like, what the light is going to be. And I'm going to use it so that, like in here on a dark, cloudy day with a really dark background, I wanted to get the focus on the subject. And with these dark toned images, people often ask me, how do you photograph these? And the answer is, with this kind of photo, is the underexposing. So when you photograph, you underexpose, and because you have a really big contrast with the bird already, like a white bird and a dark background, it's quite easy. And of course, you can always, in editing, you can add a little contrast, but it's really important to do the major adjustments already when photographing. So if you have a dark background and you see a white bird, you can try something like this. And this one is an example of that sometimes this happens a bit by accident, because I always shoot with the manual settings. I had on my camera the previous day's bright light settings, and then early morning in the dark when I go photographing by the lake, I can hear the swans landing, and I just press the button, and this is something I got. And so sometimes you get something different purely by accident. But of course, I normally carefully plan my composition and camera settings. And please note that you don't always have to have the bird in the middle of the frame, especially when there is like nice reflections. You can leave some space for it, and you can leave some empty space in the frame. So red-throated divers are one of my best, my favorite species, because it's so elegant, and also because it's quite easy because they stay in the same pond the whole summer. So I don't have to go looking for them every time. I just know they will be there. And I actually grow a bit attached to them because I photograph them for the whole summer. So when they leave at the end of the summer, it's always a bit sad moment. Here is one diver landing with the fish on its mouth. And I have been waiting for this landing situation for, I think, about 2 hours. And if you have been photographing red-throated divers, it's really fast landing when they come down. So I think the only way to get it is to stare at the treetops where you think they're gonna land from. And I think that's really difficult to stay alert for such a long time, like just looking at the treetops and keeping the camera alive as well. And then there is always this luck thing. It might come from behind me or something, but now it landed nicely from the side, so I could capture the water splashes like this. The shutter speed needs to be, I think, at least 1/2000 seconds to stop the drops. And again, a dark tone photo with a little bit more of the background showing. And you're gonna notice I really love the backlight because I can create things like outlining the bird with the light, and also the bokeh balls, which I'm gonna show you more later. So making a dark toned photo doesn't always have to be totally black. I think it's really important to show environment as well. So here is a black-headed gulls building a nest, and the backlight lights the white bird's wings quite nicely as well, and the mist bringing some mystical feeling to this shot. And also here, I'm showing the habitat of the puffin nesting site. This is taken in Norway, in Hornøya bird island. And I like the contrast between something really bright in the photo and the darker background. I also enjoy when I can get something like painted look in my photos. Like somebody, if this was a piece of art on the wall, somebody might ask, like, is this a photo or is this painted or something? But I take it as a compliment because I want to create some kind of painted effects, like the reflections from the forest behind the birds is creating some colors. And also here, reflections again. And moving on to close-ups, which I also like to do. And it's not because the likes in the Instagram, maybe a little bit that too, but it's more about highlighting the details. And I think bird photography is so nice because in the photograph, I can show the little details, the beautiful colors and the feathers of the birds in the photo. And not many people get to see birds so close. So in the photos, I can bring it out. And it's so nice that we have so many different kinds of birds, like small and large and colorful and, you know, different shapes. Compared to like a bear photography, there is a bear and there is a there, and it's always the same, but I like birds because there are so many different ones. And here I think I want to say about this photo is that the similar as in photographing people in studio, you need to look at the shadows and the light, and you can use it to bring some shapes to the bird and some roundness as well. And this is a bit like a bird portrait, I think. And you maybe noticed that I like to keep my backgrounds quite clean, so there is nothing disturbing in there. So that's how I get the focus to the subject, the bird. And it's the razorbill. And after photographing razorbills a lot, only with the close-ups, I even realized how peculiar the beak is. Like the feathers go almost to the end of the beak. And that's also the nice thing about the really good close-ups. You see things that you don't notice in a bigger picture. And also, I think close-ups is a form of simplification. Like you can crop out things that you don't want to draw the attention to. So here is the preening behavior, which I want to emphasize in the photo. And sometimes I do like really, really close-ups just to bring out the beautiful feathers or the colors that the birds have. But going to behavior thing, that's really interesting. Like as a bird photographer, I get to spend a lot of time with birds. And it's not only photographing, it's also watching the birds and learning about what they are doing. So here is a male capercaillie, and it's really defending its lecking territory. It's also trying to attract females by clicking the beak. And photographing capercaillies is one of the highlights of my year, every year in April. So I spent nights camping in the forest, and photographing them is because the males have the lecking area and they arrive to the trees nearby in the evening. So I need to go into hide about 7 p.m. in the evening before the birds arrive. And I will stay in that tent until the next morning, around 10, 11 in the morning when the birds leave after the night. So it's really amazing to wake up at night for the sounds of forest and hearing all the fights of the males and the clicking and all the sounds. And if I wasn't a bird photographer, I don't know, I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be there spending nights in a cold tent somewhere in the forest alone. So I think this hobby or profession has brought me a lot of new experiences as well. So these males perform all kinds of moves, like these high jumps, to attract the females. And sometimes the mornings are really nice, like after the cold night, it was something like minus 10 degrees at night. So in the morning it's cold and you can see the breathing on the left here. So, and of course the beautiful tail feathers of the capercaillie. And this is what it looks like when he's been fighting for several days. It's actual holes in the head, and it's really tough to spring for the males. And of course, it's only because of the ladies that they want to attract. So this lady, I think, a female capercaillie, has perhaps been convinced that this is the male, the one. And it's really nice to watch. Actually, this didn't end up in mating. I mean, the female was ready for it, and it went down, and it was like, yeah, I'm ready. But the male kept circling around it and didn't do anything because it wanted to attract more females to the leg, because the males want to get them all before they start mating. So after the end, the female flew off, and I spent more days in the spot, and they never came back. The females never came back to this one. So I was kind of in a wrong place. But I'm just saying that sometimes maybe you should take the first one. So I've done some tips. I mean, there are so many advice I could tell, but starting with the really basics. With the bird photography, I think it's very important to hide anyhow in a photography hide or tent, or at least in camo clothes, anything that the birds won't notice you, because then you can get to capture the normal behavior, what they do. And also to get on a really low level when photographing, if the subject is on the ground. It does make a big difference. And also get to know your subject, study about it, and you'll get better pictures in the end, because you know when and where to go. So hiding, I'm always hiding. I'm very, I think it's very important not to disturb the birds. I think this one might look like this little one has noticed me, but I'm in a floating hide. So this is just a split of a second expression on its face. And I get a lot of photos when I go photographing. It can be easily like 6,000 to 10,000 photos on a one day. So I always try to find expressions like this, because I think it's so impressive when the subject is looking straight at you. And of course, this great crested grebe is impressive when it's doing the legging moves, spreading the wings. Again, because of the females. And here again, some winter shots. About straight in the camera. I mean, it's pure luck when you get the bird landing straight at you, and you really need to be prepared and have your camera ready when something like that happens, when the golden eyes landing. And here is the great grey owl. There was a situation that I've heard that there is a great grey owl in the area. So of course I had to go looking for it. It was a cold day, again, as it is normally in winter. And I had spent hours looking for it with my binoculars. Then I have the thermal camera, which I use looking for birds, and I couldn't find it. And it was getting dark, and I was, I was going to give up and going back to my car. And then I saw something like on the side eye, like something flew past me. And I'm like, okay, now it's there, and it's landed on this really beautiful perch and stared right at me. And I still had my camera on, and I took like a few shots, and it flew away. It took maybe 10 seconds, the moment. So it's a reminder, like, well, don't give up. You have to give up some time, but still keep your camera ready as long as you are sure that the situation is over. As a contrast to the previous dark backgrounds, I also enjoy doing these quite minimalistic white background shots. And snow is a really good simplifier. Here's a long-tailed duck. It's actually photographed in Svalbard, and there was about 10 of these birds sleeping on ice. And I want to say that when we left the place, they were still sleeping. So I want to say that don't wake up the birds, don't disturb them when you are photographing. You can do like all the tricks you can think of to try to get different angles and different shots. But just photograph what they are doing and don't disturb them. And black grouse, I photograph a lot because it's quite common bird in Finland. It's a lecking situation with the nice white background. And of course, there is always a little dirt or maybe something in the background. So in this case, you can try overexposing the shot. Like it's contrasted to like a white bird and dark background. We have a black bird and white background, so overexpose and you get rid of those annoying little dark things. And always easier if you have the contrast with the bird color. Also here with ravens. Ravens are actually, I like these photos because it tells about ravens. They are so, they communicate with each other much, and they have different roles. If you have been watching ravens, there is always some birds keeping the watch when the others are feeding. And if there is anything suspicious happening, then, you know, they give warnings and the whole flock flies away. So I think ravens are really intelligent and also beautiful birds to photograph. So snow is a great element. And I use, when there is piles of snow, I use them to sort of, I place myself so I can maybe get something like this. White-throated dipper is always coming to the same rock when it dives and it comes to the same rock. So I placed myself so that I could only have like a little hole, and I was hoping that the bird would come there. So I had a plan and the bird never came to the rock. Okay, so I had to give up in the end. But the next year I went to the same place photographing this. I remembered my plan from the previous year, and I found again the place where I could sort of block everything else with the snow and only get the rock. And the second year I succeeded in this. So it's always worth to try again, as long as it takes. Again, against white background. You can also do it with white birds. It's I think there was not snow actually, but it was a cloudy day, so you can use the clouds behind. They look really white as well. And with this photo, I need to point out the really nice new feature I have in R1, which is the pre-shooting setting. That's the one that when you press the shutter button halfway, it keeps recording the images in the camera. It doesn't save them yet, but when you get the bird leaving the branch, then you press the button and you get about half a second of the shots also saved. So it's perfect for this kind of fast action shots when the bird takes off from a branch. And normally these situations are faster than you are, so you get those like few frames extra. And then it's a very recent photo from like a couple of weeks ago. I was watching these Arctic terns doing the courtship when the male was fishing those small little fish and took them to the female who was waiting on the rock. And it's also the part of the courting behavior. And I think it was really lovely to watch. And when photographing turns, it's also a really good practice on like a flying bird practice. Just any gulls, any birds that you have a lot in your location. So about settings, I think I must say always shoot raw, because you get so much more details in editing. And keep the camera settings ready for the really fast moments, because the moments are so fast you don't have time to react, like to change the settings. And you can always, if there is a peaceful moment, you will have time to change the settings for that way. And also take time to get to know your camera. That means read the fucking manual method. And because in those cameras nowadays, we have so many nice elements that it's nice to get everything out of it. Okay, and the one more of these high key shots is done with the sea fog. It was really bright day at first, and then in Hornoja Island, and then suddenly there was this thick fog coming from the sea, and it created this kind of studio-like look. And it was with the blackbird again, I think it looks best. So I also use fog to create a smooth background. When there is this nice sunrise light, it makes the fog glow a bit nicer. And yeah, here is goldeneye again, quite a common bird in Finland. And they also perform really funny courtship moves, if you have been watching them. And this is like the backward kick. It's particularly amazing to impress the females. And as I like to do the close-ups, I also do the very opposite when I only have the bird in very small in the frame. And then, of course, there has to be something else to look at in the frame. I still want there to be bird, but I think now the point is the morning mist and the colors. And same here. They are red-throated divers in this photo. And with misty photos, I think sometimes when looking, I've been photographing misty morning, and I'm like, oh, now I've got really nice ones. And then when I go home and have a look at the photos, they are a bit blurry because there is so much these vapors between the subject and the camera. So it's disappointing, but if you have that kind of light, try to get a little bit closer to the subject. So there is less of this disturbing material in the between. And then, of course, you maybe have to accept that they're not going to be those razor sharp pictures. You can do the razor sharp ones in the nice taillight and the bright day. And with the misty mornings, you want to get this kind of mystical feeling to the photos. So, of course, always you can add a little bit clarity and dehaze when editing, but don't expect too much of the misty morning shots, like the sharpness-wise. Great crested crepes is, maybe I must say, it's another favorite species for me because of their spring behavior. And they look for a new partner every spring. So it's really lovely to watch the courtship, like when they are trying to choose the right one that they're going to nest with. And I actually made the whole exhibition about great crested crepes this year. and it tells about the behavior. It tells about the love, and it tells about the defending the loved ones. Like here is somebody, there is a couple already, but there is a third bird coming, and of course it ends up in a big fight. And for a photographer, these are like really cool situations when you get the action, you get the water splashes that are highlighted by the backlight. So there is a lot to photograph in spring with the great crested crabs. So I like to photograph water a lot. And sometimes you don't actually need the whole bird in the photo. You can just get a little detail. And the photo, the water, I think, is the main element in this photo. So some tips how to practice. Like I said, if you have any fast flying birds, like anything that flies, just go practicing. So I'm sure if you spend a few hours just trying to follow a bird with your camera, you're gonna be better at it. And also learn to change the basic settings without taking your eye off the viewfinder, because in the fast moments you can't spend time, watching your camera. You have to be photographing. And also try different focusing settings. I mean the different focusing point, maybe the small one or the bigger one, because the different focusing method, the different ones work better in different situations. Okay, so we're gonna move on to, I think, my favorite light effects, like the bokeh balls. And there is a simple recipe for this kind of photos. First of all, you need a big aperture, like 2.8 or 4. And then you need to have some light elements. In this photo, it's really like a common situation. There was a bird against the sea. It was bright sunlight, like that kind of light that you say, like, the light is too hard, I can't go photographing. This is taken at the light like that. Underexposing, and the glimmering sea behind the bird, and the big aperture. So you can create something like this. When it comes to light effects, I think my secret is using the floating height, because I can get to really low level. My camera is really close to the water when I photograph the water birds. And you can see the situation. It's like probably 4 a.m. in spring. Water is cold. I have a dry suit and a floating height. My camera is attached to the height. I'm actually walking on the bottom of the lake, so I'm not swimming or anything. And from inside the height, it looks like in the middle picture. So you can see the beautiful backlight that's coming through the trees, and the mist is lingering on the water surface. So from the low angle in the water, you can get really beautiful light effects. And also, the floating height is great because birds don't realize that you are there. So you can see the horned crab is swimming right towards the height. So that's how I photograph. I stay in one place, I wait, I don't move, and I wait that the birds come to me. I don't go chasing them. They come really close. I mean, I have had gulls mating on top of my height. it's a noisy situation. And also this photo has been taken from a floating height. And the perfect moment, it's very short when the sun is at the right angle. So also you need, it's easy with the floating height because you can move a little bit, so you can get the sun and the bird and yourself in the perfect line. And I don't even know how these light effects form, but sometimes you can see amazing things through the camera. I don't know if these are called bokeh balls, but it's like, again, drops of water. These stellar eiders were landing in front of me, and there was a lot of water splashing. And I was quite surprised when I saw the results. You don't actually sometimes see the what's going to come out from the situation. But I like these light effects. And then there are these somehow rainbow-colored lights that only one time in my life I have been able to capture this. And again, it had been a cold night, so the frost was formed on the haze on this swamp. And in the morning, when the sun started to rise, I saw the whole swamp was glittering in front of me. And I was photographing like this, on sitting on the ground. So it's really hard trying to get like even lower because I couldn't move very much because the birds were so close to me. But it's always important to always check the weather. So if there is a weather like this, like cold night and sunny morning, I do try to get in the swamp to photograph. Again, backlight and the breathing is showing against the backlight. And I also try to get the outlines of the bird when I have a situation like this. So I get the silhouette effect, and the bird is rounded with the light. And I think the most important thing would be to have you and the subject and the light in a straight line, so that you can get the light outlining the bird perfectly. If the light comes like from another side, the other side is not going to be outlined. So I know it's difficult and it needs luck to have that kind of situation, but if you are in this kind of moment, try to get it like perfectly lined so you can get the perfect lights surrounding the bird. And another backlight outlines with the horned crabs. I wrote down the previous styles that I've been showing you, and so that you can sort of try to remember what I've been saying. So if you want the black background, you need to underexpose for the kind of low-key shots. And then if you want the white, like pure white background, you need to overexpose. And for the bokeh, you need the big aperture backlight and something glittering, something light spots. And the same actually goes with outlines, except you don't need that kind of big aperture. And I'm going to show you one more style that I like to do, and it's the panning shot, and also the other kind of slow shutter speed things to emphasize the movement. So panning shot is, if you're not familiar with it, you get the slow shutter speed, and you follow the flying bird the same speed that it is flying, and then the background goes blurry. This is the same methods that maybe the rally photographers use when they follow the car and the background goes nice and smooth. I've added the shutter speeds here so that you can actually see that there is not specific shutter speed that I use, but in different situations I use different ones. Here Fulmar photograph from above, from the deck of a boat against the foaming, like after the storm, foaming sea. And well, I do like to photograph snowstorms and also rain, but in this situation I wasn't expecting the rain, so I got totally wet. And right before I left the pond, the bird started to fly, and I just photographed the last flight. And I think with the rain, the panning technique is also really nice. And you can see that against the dark background, you can see the water better. Panning technique is the kind of technique that you're going to end up throwing like 99% of the photos to the bin because they are just all blurry. But sometimes there is something sharp in the photo. And in my panning shot, I want something to be sharp. I don't yet do like those. I want there to be a sharp head or the sharp eye. And of course, it's more difficult when there is two birds. Like here, the coots are fighting or chasing each other. And here is a horned crab running on water. Again, you don't get the razor sharp ones with this technique, but you get something else. You get the movement. And you get something different, I think. After taking like only the sharp photos for many years, I wanted to add something new to my photos. So I like the softness also. This is not like really a panning shot, it's just a slow shutter speed shot. The great crested crabs are shaking their heads when they are courting. So I wanted to capture the movement with the head. And I have a couple more shots about the same situation. Again, I think it's something that, I mean, this photo is like, is it rubbish or is it like a competition pic? I don't know. But it's something different anyway. Also, the snowstorms are really good situations where to use the slow shutter speed. It brings out somehow the coldness and the storm in the photo. And sometimes it's just so dark in the winter. This is photographed in January in Finland, when we had like 1 hour of daylight or something in Lapland. So I had no other choice than to photograph with a slow shutter speed. So sometimes it brings out something that I like. And our last subject is the white-throated dipper. Sorry. The flowing rivers are something that I just can't photograph with the fast shutter speed. I want the flowing water. And here I was really challenging myself to do the 1/5 seconds, which is really, really slow for bird photography. But I was telling myself, I don't go over that. You have to stay there. I photographed this for 3 days in a row, and then I had to go home. But the pictures I got, I liked very much, and the dippers are sort of easy subjects because I know they are going to stand in the same place and the same rock for a little while. Always, even if you are doing the slow shutter speed, use the fast serial shooting, because only one of the 100 photos is something like sharp. So I have one video which is less than 3 minutes, and it's about me photographing these birds in Kuusamo in Finland. So there is a little behind the scene material, and I'm going to show it to you now. Thank you.